excited we are to be together, even on a Wednesday night. So, guys, stand up. Wave to our family out there in cyber world. They're all over the world, not just the country, but all over the world. We love you. We're glad to have the family back in the house. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not doing a redo. Well, sorry, y'all were looking at that camera? We weren't. I guess y'all figured that out. Before we get started, and y'all don't get me in trouble. You know Bill is watching this. Before we get started, do let me say that we need to pray for Bill. He does not have corona. I repeat, he does not have corona. Okay? Did we get that? Okay. He does have severe allergy situations. So all kidding aside, let's do pray for him. You know what it's been like. Poor Telma has been dealing with it. Where'd you go, Mike? Poor Telma has really had a hard time with it. I still don't see him. Oh, hiding. Okay, throw something at me. Anyway, there are others who, Bob Davis has had it. Several of you have told us that you've been having, not just a week of it, but weeks of it. So let's keep those people lifted in prayer, along with all the other things that we know about, the prayers that have come in online through emails and everything. Bill will be okay. He just, with the headache that goes along with all of that allergy stuff, sometimes it just gets too severe. And I just had to make him take a nap. So I hope he's napping. If you're watching, you should be napping. So anyway, yeah. Now you know he's not napping because I have the microphone and he's scared to death. Okay, so in order not to make his headache worse, I'll proceed with the announcements that we have. Now, before I get into that, don't go away. Don't go, oh, well, Bill's not teaching and Beth's going to get up there and be silly. No, we do have something important that's going to happen tonight. But you're going to have to wait a minute. I'm not going to tell you yet. Some of you know here, but y'all are going to have to wait. So hang on. Don't just say, oh, well, we'll come back on Shabbat. No, you'll miss out. Don't do that. Okay, so announcements right quick. If you don't get the email, again, Laurie has been putting up the address, beth@billcloud.org. There's stuff in there you'll need to know. I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm just going to rapid fire this because you guys can replay it, and you guys can too later, and you can also read the email that got sent out this morning. So, first of all, I made a mistake. It was the wrong time on dance practice. They meet at 10 o'clock on Shabbat, and I put 10:30. They meet at 10 o'clock, and they end at 10:30. So if anybody wants to come and join the dancers, learn the dances that Carmen leads for the practice, for the praise and worship, it's 10 o'clock on Saturdays, Shabbat mornings before the service. And then they'll end at 10:30, so you'll have time to get refreshed and visit before we start the service. So what is at 10:30 is shofar practice with Adam Fullwood. Say hi to Adam. Okay. Everybody knows Adam? Wave. Okay, so come and practice with Adam if you want to, and join the guys when they come up here, and ladies too if they want, to blow the shofar to usher in Shabbat. And now something new that's coming up that a lot of people are going to be really excited about. Not this Shabbat, okay? Not this Shabbat. Next Shabbat, the 16th. But we wanted to go ahead and give you a heads up. Crystal Ann Day is starting a song in sign class. It's going to also meet at 10:30, but it's going to be over in the fellowship hall. Adam's shofar class is over here in the overflow room. So I'm saying this for the people online too, because some of you aren't here, and you need to know this too and help spread the word of all these announcements. If you attended Crystal Ann's class at Sukkot for sign language, you know how much fun that's going to be, and you're going to learn a lot while you're having so much fun. And then when she feels that they are appropriately trained on their songs and confident, then she'll have the group come over here, and we'll work out a time for her to give that presentation as a praise and worship. So, and it's beautiful. If you've never done it, you'll enjoy it. You'll be blessed by it too. Okay, so the next thing is Shabbat. We are meeting again this Shabbat in the house. Woohoo! I'm happy about that. Okay, our regular schedule, 11 a.m. And the question about oneg. Okay, we just had a good supper served by gloved volunteers. We're going to do that again, but it won't be spaghetti this time. Are we glad about that? The spaghetti was good, but I don't want it a third time. Anyway, it will be this time. Our volunteered gloved hands will serve a Mediterranean gyro meal. So, yeah, this yummy stuff. So, please RSVP at jacobstent.org and then scroll down to Jacob's Table. And when you do that, also put a number of people in your family who plan to eat. Now, you're welcome to bring something. If you still don't want to eat with, the rest of the herd, that's fine. You can bring your own and sit at the table, whatever works for you. But if you do plan to eat what we're providing, we do need a number so we can stay as close to, the count as possible. Make sure that everybody gets some food. Ladies' luncheon this Monday at 12 o'clock here. Marlene is... she's giving me a little inside sneak peek to some stuff she has planned, and it's going to be really sweet and a fun time. Also, we're working on having potential babysitting situation for those who would otherwise not be able to come for their little ones and possibly for the elementary ones. So there'll be more news on that by Shabbat. We'll have that all ironed out. And we'll also have the menu. We're trying to keep the cost down to minimal, but if it's just not in the budget right now, please don't stay home because of that. Don't. Okay, you have an announcement when I'm done? Okay, and then I'm almost done, and it's about you. Yeah. And your wife. And your little girl that's coming. Yay! Baby shower! Woohoo! So we had to put it off, and so many things have been postponed, changed, and rearranged. But like I said on Shabbat, baby says, that doesn't matter to me. I'm coming anyway. So May 17th, that is a week from this Sunday, we will be having the baby shower here. And this is a little bit different than the last two. I was very nice to you guys, the last two. This time, it wasn't my idea, but I think it's pretty cool. Couples are invited. Guys, now you know what to give them for Mother's Day. It'll just be a week late. Anyway, couples are invited. Brandon's going to be there, and y'all can make so much fun of him, those of you who already have children, this first-time daddy, and all the fun things that'll go on. Also, they said if you bring a package of diapers along with your gift, you get a ticket to win a prize. We did that last time. That was a lot of fun, and it was great to see Mommy get blessed with all the diapers, huh, Missy? There we go. Yeah, right? Her little man appreciated those diapers, I'm sure. Not as much as Mommy and Daddy did. Okay, so if you don't get the email and you need their online gift registry, again, just email beth@billcloud.org and I can get that to you. I'd be happy to put you on the email list, but if you want just the registry, I can do that too. So that's all I have for right now. Brandon has an announcement, and then once he makes his announcement, we'll dismiss our young people.
Okay, it's not really an announcement so much as it is. I haven't run this by any other leadership yet, so Dad, if you're watching, we'll talk later. We are officially going to start forming a worship team, so it's not just me and Melody all the time. As far as the official dates on that, I don't know. That's what I have to talk to Dad about. It will be very soon. So I'm hoping that by the time he and I have time to talk about it, I can announce an official date like this weekend at Shabbat. So just planting that seed in your mind. Those of you who are musical, we'll have some sort of like a tryout or something like that and just kind of go from there. So I'll let you know the date on that soon. And that's it. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm just giving some people the eye. You're hiding your talents. We know. We're just going to give you the opportunity to come forth on your own. Okay, so Brandon, do they have the option to stay in here and listen to what's about to happen, or what would you like to do there?
I thought I was done. Youth? You have an announcement?
I guess you might want to know what's happening before you can make that decision. Okay, so since Bill's not here tonight, I told you what we're going to have is something very special. Robert and Neyla Locey, some of the sweetest, most humble people you will ever meet, whom we love very much, are going to come up and give a testimony. Oh, look, her kids are pointing her out over there. We love you, Miss Neyla. They're going to come and give a testimony. They just went through something very traumatic with the tornadoes, but amazing at the same time. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to save that for them. So that's what is going to happen. So
all I have to say, those youth who would like to sit in here and listen to the testimony, that's fine. The rest of you, we're going to go over. We're not actually going to even have a lesson tonight. We're just going to kind of, play games, hang out, whatever. The only thing I request is let's not do back and forth. Make a decision, and then stick to it.
And that's as long as your parents are okay with it. So here or there, you're either in here in the sanctuary or you're over there with the youth. Nowhere in between. Y'all know how that goes. Okay? So we will go ahead at this time and dismiss our Jacob's Quiver. And Miss Neyla's class is going to hang out in here for a little bit because Miss Neyla is going to be in here. And she will decide if she's going to leave Mr. Robert by himself during this at all or if she's going to take her class out later. Robert and Neyla, whenever y'all are ready. Okay. And I don't know who is responsible, but this is for you, and it even matches your pretty purple, and it has candy in it.
If you're allergic to the candy, you can give it to me.
We have volunteers to eat the candy if you can't.
So my class said to make it fast. Before I start, and I'm going to go back a little bit, so try to, be patient, and then I'll get into what actually happened. For the last few months, I felt Abba was saying move to Cleveland, which before, Robert and I had talked about moving to Cleveland. I was like, don't feel it. But I kept saying there's so much to do. There's packing to do. There's, things that we have to repair in the house and always something. And a few weeks before the tornado, I felt the urge that you need to do this. I was saying do this. So I started, okay, I'm going to get focused and start working on the house. And I'm going to go room by room and just start getting rid of stuff and giving away stuff and start packing. But since COVID did not keep me from going to work, so I still had to go to work. I didn't get a break. So I still had to go to work, so trying to do that during the night, and Feast of Unleavened Bread was coming, and there was just a lot to do. Again, just excuses. But again, I felt the urging, so I started packing. And I decided, okay, I'm going to get all the stuff that I really, really want to take to my new home, and I'm going to pack it. And I had Zuriel help me, and started putting it in boxes and took it out to the shed outside so it would be out of the way. I knew what I needed to get rid of in the house and everything. And so anyway, then just started working that week before before Passover, and getting the house ready, just getting her from work, cleaning a little bit at a time and everything. And since we weren't going to get together, and we had not used our set-apart plates, our set-apart dishes for the Seder, Bill, be proud of me, I said Seder. So, I was like, I want to make it special. And so, got everything, got tablecloth and got all the china and everything, just make it really nice. And we put Bill on our little computer screen and had our Seder meal. So then it went great, got everything cleaned up the next day. And So Friday and Sunday, I decided I'm going to really push myself, especially for those of you who heard Bill's teaching that Sabbath. One of the things that he talked about was that, and he shared his heart. He did his teaching and then he just wanted to share his heart. And it really spoke to me because he talked about being ready. You need to be just ready with all this craziness going on. We have to be ready. Our hearts have to be ready. Our finances, our everything has to be ready because we don't know what's coming. And we may be asked to stand in the gap for out there, for our neighbors. And that really, really, really hit my heart. And I was like, I really have to get serious about this. Just stay focused. And so Sunday work, I even took pictures of the room for my best friend. I was like, look, I got this organized and everything. So that Sunday I had everything ready, put my brand new pair of rain boots by the door, coat by the rail, and I knew it was going to be raining, so I was like, just get it ready to go to work. Had the laptops on the dining room table because I had it all planned out the next day. I was going to go to work, then I was going to come home, dinner, and then I was going to make masks. My whole day was all planned out for Monday. About 9:30 that night, Bill texted Robert and said, are you guys okay? And we were like, he's so sweet. He's such a worrywart. But it warmed our hearts, and we were just like looking at each other. It's like, what a heart. It's the middle of the night, and he's worried about us. And he's like, yeah, Bill, we're fine. Not a big deal. And Robert, just to make sure, he looked at the weather. Bill had said there was some weather coming. And he looked at the weather, and we're like, we're good. It's not coming towards us at all. So turned off everything and then went to bed, probably around 10:30. Around 11:15, it started raining really hard, scary hard. And I got really close to my husband. I was like, And he was like, yeah, that's coming down hard. Like, probably 30 seconds later, the wall, so our bed is right under the window, and the wall started shaking. And we just looked at each other and jumped off the bed. And it felt like forever. I remembered both of us standing there, and he was like, we've got to get downstairs. We made it out of our bedroom, and that was as far as we got. The closet door came open, the attic door came down, and our roof started coming off. We were right outside of our son's door, and we tried to call for him, but our words were gone. We could hear him, but. So we both knelt down, and we held each other, and it was kind of scary, but at the same time, pretty amazing. As I knelt down, of course, I was, Father, protect us. And then Bill's words came to mind, you may have to stand in the gap. And immediately, I started praying, protect our neighbors. And that's the only thing that I could pray. Protect our neighbors, protect our neighbors. I just kept saying that in my head. As the wind, it felt like forever. It was 5 minutes of the wind blowing over our heads. We could hear the roof being ripped apart. We could hear things flying. But then something else later on I thought about, but Bill had talked about during the Seder, that talked about Passover, that it, we think about, it passed over, death passed over, but he talked about how Abba actually passed over the houses. He's, like wings covering you so that death went past you. And he passed his whole self over you to protect you. And that's what it felt like. It felt like his hand was right there. And I'm telling you, I've never felt anything like it. I'm not going to say it wasn't a scary thing, but I was at peace. I wasn't like shaking, like, I was just at peace. I knew that he was there, and I knew no matter what, maybe we were going to die. I'm not saying that we were like, oh, we're going to be fine. No, I didn't know what was going to happen at the end, but I had peace. And it was the most wonderful feeling to know that he is there, that he's right there in the middle of the storm. He's right there holding on to you. And no matter what, he's there. When it was over, we called Zuriel. He finally could hear us. He actually couldn't get out of his room. He curled up. He told us later. It was like, what happened? He curled up on his bed, and he says, just waited for him. I mean, all of us could have just been blown away. When we finally were able to step out of the house, our neighborhood was devastated. Many of you, thank you for Jacob's tent, came and have seen the devastation in our neighborhood. Trees everywhere, houses gone, dark, power lines everywhere. And it was just, we started calling each other, the neighbors, and we were okay. And later on that morning, because now it's like 11:45, looked at the phone. It was probably about 11:45, and Bill had text again, are you guys okay? And yes, we're alive. The house, not so much. So then got on the text with Beth. We texted, she said, okay, I'm falling asleep now. But I was thankful because Bill and Beth were both there. I knew they were praying for us. I know that we have a caring team that is there for us, not just, to teach, but to lead and to pray and to shepherd. And they were there the next morning with toothbrushes and shampoo and all those things that are now like we take for granted, but they're gone. They were gone. We had nothing. I had a nightgown on, was covered in fiberglass, and that was it, soaking wet. They took us to a hotel, and there we spent the night. And as I watched the news, we heard that only 3 people in Hamilton County died. One of them was a child, and the parents donated the organs, and so many people are alive because he passed away. Not a good thing, but I was just amazed. 3 people in all of Hamilton County. And if any of you have driven by any of the area, not just in our neighborhood, but any area over there, it's unbelievable that 3 people died in the entire county with such a huge tornado. But I think that's it. Zarek took pictures of everything, and some of you have seen the pictures that we have posted with I was just shocked. But one of the pictures that he took was of the china cabinet, and it was sitting there and against the wall. The walls were gone. Some of you have seen my dining room. It's gone. The roof, everything was covered in the ceiling. Everything's wet. The china cabinet with the center plates were intact. Everything, his set apart things were intact. The shed that I put all of the things that I felt were important to me are gone. Completely gone. So I was like, got it. I later on text my daughter that same morning. I said, by the way, I don't need help emptying out the attic after all. Packing is going to be pretty easy. And I know people have asked like how upsetting, and I'm like, no. All of you who are parents have had to get onto your child pretty strong about something at some point, but you love them, and then that child loves you, and then they're over it. They're like, okay, not going to do that again. Yep. He's a good father. And he's like, I said move. I did not say pack. Get your things ready and move. I said move. So let me help you out. You have nothing left to pack. Now you can move. And so next week, we will be Cleveland residents. We got a rental. And it took a lot of work from the insurance company trying to find us they got scared a little bit when they said, okay, you have a 6-bedroom house, or we're gonna have to try to find you a 6-bedroom rental. Like, no, 3 of our children are married. So there were a lot of things that, because of Zoriel and my allergies, have to be with the house. And they thought they had found us a place, and then we turned it down. And in fact, had Beth praying about it, had Heather praying about it. It was like, had several people praying about it, and it was like, yeah, it's not going to be it. And then we got called back, and it's like, well, everything that you asked was fixed. Will you, give them a second chance? And Robert and I, we were like, I don't know. But then again, it's giving that person a second chance, not just turning up our noses, because we don't know how the Father's going to use us. I'm just thankful that we're still here because the Father wants to use us, and that is all that matters. So that's all. My kids are ready to go. Thank you.
You sure you want to leave? Okay. All right, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. Neyla has already given you kind of the overview of what happened that night. One thing I wanted to touch on, though, she kind of touched it, but when we were entering the hallway and the closet door flew open and the attic door dropped down, when that happened, they actually wedged together, and it prevented us from getting to the stairs to go to the basement. First thing I did was try to grab it to shove it out of the way. It's a hollow core door. If it doesn't want to get out of the way, I'll go through it. I don't care. But when I went to grab it to move it out of the way, I'm actually looking at the tornado on the other side of the door. So, like I said, it's a hollow core door. It's not intended to stop very much. So, again, that's just evidence of the Father's hand in that, because he put it there so we don't even get the wind. But and the only section of the roof that was still on was, ceiling tile that was right above us, was kind of right there at the edge of the attic access, because the rest of the roof was gone. The timbers were splinters. So that's just, further evidence of his hand. And that was, some of you don't know that much about me. Some of you do know a little bit about me. I do a lot of traveling. I've done a lot of traveling. I was in the military. One of the things I've picked up over the year are some, it's a jade-handled walking stick, but it's not actually jade. It's plastic that's painted green, but it's supposed to look like jade, got little dragons on it stuff. It's a walking stick. Neat thing about the walking stick is you open it up and it's 2 swords, okay? So that's laying on a dresser next to my bed, and that opened up and was stabbed, and I'm sure the picture's been all over Facebook and stuff, so a lot of you may have seen it. But that opened up and was stabbed in each side of the bed, where I was laying and where Neyla was laying. So if we had not got out and walked out, then that's where we would have been, So again, it's like, no, you're not coming back here. This is done, So I wanted to say, put a fine point to it, but there's done. Like she said, there's a lot of stuff that we lost, and that was probably the biggest question we kept getting asked over and over again. Are you able to recover anything? And I'm like, there's nothing to recover. The 3 of us that were in that house were alive. I don't really care about the rest of it. Yeah, it'd be nice to come across some things. Yeah, it'd be nice to get some of this stuff back. I collected cans. I have a bunch of swords. But I don't care about them. That's not important. She had a whole lot of stuff that she's made through the years. That's some of the stuff she was storing away in the shed. And he didn't just put one of our trees on it. He borrowed a couple of trees from the neighborhood because there were like 3 of them right on top. So it's like, this is not it. So, yeah, I mean, it was, like she said, it's scary, but it's not fearful, okay? You don't know what's going to happen, so it's scary. It's kind of like if you ride a roller coaster, when you're going up, you feel scared. You feel a fear, but it's not a fear that you actually think you're going to die. You just know something's about to happen that you're not sure how you're going to react, but you're going through it, whatever it is. Okay, whatever's on the other side, you're actually kind of looking forward to that, to see what is made of that. That's what going through that was like for us, is we were looking forward to see what's going to come of this, what's going to happen. So we go through that night. Like I said, she gave a lot of details. So we go through that night, and the outpouring of love that came from Jacob's tent, everybody that could be there was there. The next day we had more people coming. And I had people coming up to me. Let me back up a minute. That night when it happened and we finally got out of the house, one of the first things that was going on in my neighborhood was everybody who was getting out of their homes was running around to neighbors' houses and trying to find them, make sure they're out, make sure they're safe. Get out here so we can see you safe, Some people didn't have flashlights, so we're passing out flashlights. We're passing out. Zoriel is my gadget guy, okay? He's like Mr. Gadget, I mean, I don't know how many flashlights he gave out, but we're giving out flashlights. We're giving out whatever. 3, okay, so he ended up giving out 3 flashlights. We've all got headlamps on, courtesy of Zoriel. So it's like, no, you need light, because there is no light in this neighborhood. There are no cell towers. There are no cables. All the cables are on the ground. There is no power, nothing. They kind of laughed at me because as we were leaving the house to go out toward the driveway, the outside faucet had been hit by a branch that was on, and I reached over there and turned it off. And it's like, now you're worried about conserving water. So, but that's, we get out there and we're meeting and talking to people that we haven't talked to in a while. We haven't seen in a while. But it's all about, are you okay? Are you alive? Okay? So that's what we were doing. Now, I had to say that about that night because we got out there and it's just the whole community searching for each other to make sure we're okay. The next morning when Jacob's tent showed up and everything's being cleared and stuff like that, I ended up with more neighbors coming over. Once we decided to call it quits for the day, I got more neighbors coming over saying, by the time, they said, a couple of days and you're not even going to know anything happened to your yard. What's going on? I said, I know, it's phenomenal. It's great. I mean, I said we had a 4-foot diameter oak tree on one side of our yard. Neyla argued with me, said it wasn't that big. So I took a picture standing next to it, and it's like right here. So I'm like, only it's laying down. So I'm like, yeah, no, it was thick. So one of the guys, the Father blesses, one of the guys got a fresh, crisp $20 bill with a little bit of mud on it from that tree. So I don't know where it came from, but yeah. So it's amazing seeing this. But everybody took those trees down, got them pushed out. We got a lot of cleaning up done. So this is where I said about memories. Sometimes you'll find stuff. Maybe we'll find stuff, maybe we won't. I'm not worried about it, okay? So some of the stuff we started coming across is I found a Ziploc bag with some pictures of my dad from Vietnam. That was a great find. I thought my sister stole those. So, Teresa, if you're watching, I'm sorry. But, I was like, I found them. And I actually asked her to watch, so I'm probably going to get a phone call. But those little things like that. We found some, I had a whole bunch of coins that I had saved up over the years. Different units, you always get something, right? They got these challenge coins, so they pass them out in the military. So I had huge bags of those things because I've been with so many different units doing so many different missions. And I'm like, well, I was a little bit upset because I'm like, I'm pretty sure those didn't just fly off. And they probably got thrown in the trash. And right about then, I kind of get a nudge about, I thought you were thankful, I thought you were happy with what I did leave, And I'm like, yeah, I got to let that go. See, that's not important. And so he gives us these little reminders. I wrote a few things down, and I know this usually goes like 7 to 8, right? But we started late. So in Isaiah 41, verses 9 and 10, and usually I go a little bit further, but I'm just going to read a certain caption verses. I would encourage you, read. My mother always used to say, read before and you read after, and then you go back to where it came from and you find that and you read that too because you don't have the right context. She never said that to us. I never had a Bible open in my house growing up, except by the Jehovah's Witness. And she would be telling that to the Jehovah's Witnesses while they were borrowing her living room to do their training sessions. And she kept interrupting. And so they quit coming over to do their training sessions because she wanted the people they were training to read the context of what they were getting. And she was always right. And I'm like, but you don't read the Bible. How do you get that? So you learn a lot about your parents when you get older. But they were actually very devoted. They just didn't like religion. Amazing, because I don't either. So anyway, Isaiah 41, verses 9 and 10. Whom I have strengthened from the ends of the earth and called from its farthest parts, and said to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and have not rejected you. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall fortify you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. And that's one of the things that have come to me is it's absolutely not about us. It's about him and his righteousness. So as folks came through, news kept coming through, the governor came through, all these people are coming through the war-torn area. As a soldier, I'm sorry, those kind of things kind of grate me. It's not war-torn. It's a natural disaster. It's not war. It does look the same, but it's not the same. But they're coming through. They're doing the interviews. They get a lot of things mixed up, okay? So if anybody read the news report, they first called us Hasidic Jews, and then they tried to correct it to Messianic Jews. And apparently I have a 25-pound bowling ball, which I have never seen in my life. I don't think they make them that big because it would destroy the mechanisms of the machinery. So, but yeah, so they got some things messed up, but they got the general gist of what Neyla was just sharing up here. It was about our Father passed over to protect us, okay? Interesting thing, and this is another way that the Father blesses us and restores us it's about his righteousness. So we have a neighbor that we have known ever since we moved in there because they had their house built there 47 years ago when they first developed the housing division. They were one of the first houses in there, okay? So they were actually, and she shared this with the news reporter, but they were actually studying Passover. And I don't think it has any small thing to do with the fact that they came over to our Passover one year because their son had come over to our Passover the year before that, and we had been talking all these years, and they know that we do these feasts, and they know that we do these things. And so they got curious about it, and I think somebody came to speak at their church who was a Messianic Jew, which is where the newspaper got the idea that we were Messianic Jews because that's what she said, And so she said that they were studying Passover, and she had realized she was making some crafts, and she realized this certain things she was making, she needed to drape it and wrap it in with a red, either a red cord or a red piece of ribbon, because it's as a memorial, as a symbol of the red that was placed over the doorpost. And it's interesting. This is what they're learning. So that's at least twice, maybe more, but they had at least 2 witnesses right there in that storm of what Passover was and what it symbolized. And, you know, that's the stories that they wanted to put out on the news channel. That's the stories they wanted to put in the newspaper because they were really tired of hearing all the devastation and heart-rendering, and everybody's all distraught and crying and sad. That's part of it. But there's also hope if you know where to draw it from, okay? You got to tap into that. So I'm not going to go through all of these because I had about 3 for talking about his protection, and had another couple of them talking about integrity, which I'm going to touch on one of them. It's in Proverbs. Let me get to it here. Proverbs 4:26, and it says, "Consider the path of your feet, and all your ways are established." Okay, that's a simple little phrase, but let me go to another one, which is Proverbs 28 and verse 6. And we read, "Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than one perverse in his ways who is rich." So I bring those 2 up to say this. One of the things that we really hope came out of this, as a witness to the neighbors, whoever the emergency service personnel were, I used to work for the county government, but I think I've seen more cops, sheriff's deputies, emergency workers, and firemen and stuff in 3 days than I had in over 10 years working at the court, okay? They were all like coming by, checking on people, seeing what was needed, seeing what's going on. And they were taking away the fact that I kept getting the question, why are y'all so happy? Why are you so happy? I mean, you know, some people were trying to tie it. How much are you getting for your house? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, you know, whatever it was insured for, I don't know. You know, well, are you getting a lot for your personal property? I don't know. I have an idea. The money doesn't matter. The money will be enough for whatever. There's folks from Jacob's Tent here locally and abroad that have sent us donations. And we're very grateful for that. You know, we are really, really grateful for that. And our challenge is we have to use that wisely, okay? I have one son, I'll pick on him, but my oldest son, not the one that's living with us, but the one who doesn't live with us, but has not managed to pick up all his stuff yet. Yeah, he's right there listening. And, you know, he's like, so are you claiming this or can I claim this? I said, son, you weren't in the storm. You know? I will make claims. The stuff that actually belongs to you that got damaged, make a list and file a claim for it. Because you do have renter's insurance for everything that you left at my house. So you claim that and I'll claim this. You don't have to ask me because if you own it, I'm not claiming it. I don't do that. And I know where he's getting this question because just about anybody you talk to that's ever been through this, they negotiate with people about what can I claim, what can't I claim, okay? You know, is it possible, could you just back your dump truck up a little bit more because I really want this totaled, okay? You see this stuff go on, you know? And I'm just grateful that I haven't seen that in this, okay? But my dad worked insurance for several years, so I have seen it. And that's just another blessing that came out of this, is seeing that people were not concerned so much about the money. They were more concerned about, are you okay? Let me help you. Matter of fact, we went back one day. We didn't tell anybody. Bill's going to be mad at me because I didn't tell him we were going back. Because he kept telling me, if you're going back in there to try to get stuff out, let me know so we can get a team together again. And I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure what we were going to do, okay? And this is the part where it's Neyla's fault because she left the room. But she didn't want anybody coming in there because she don't want anybody thinking that that's the way she keeps the house, okay? So I'm just going to throw that right out there. She can watch it later. But so we went back in there, and there's a bunch of Mormons from the church, the Mormon church, and their pastor, apparently my new neighbors, because we had a lady, we called her Nana. She lived right next to us, but she passed. Her kids didn't want the house anymore, so they sold it. And so we had new neighbors that had just moved in right next door to us. And I guess apparently they're Mormon. I haven't got to talk to the guy, okay? Because he's actually a general contractor, and so I don't actually see him. But we got to talk a lot while we were cleaning up the yards, you know? And but some folks from his church showed up with his pastor, and they weren't there yet, so they just came over and started helping us move some stuff around, move that china cabinet out, move the table out that was in the dining room. And so they started helping us clean up, shovel stuff into bags and put it on the curb, whatnot. And so we got to talk and we got to meet them. And again, it was an opportunity to share our testimony with them of what just happened, you know, and why we're happy. Because he's sitting there, he's about to go into tears just looking at the condition of these houses, and they don't even belong to him, you know. And it's like, no, it's not about that. That's not important, you know. So anyway, that was protection, integrity. And this is what I want to close with a little bit, or close with here in a little bit, is we have been given so much. Like I said, it's not just the money, but the money is a representation of money, cards, letters, stuff like that has been sent to us and given to us. We're so appreciative of it. We can't say it enough, you know. The men and women and the youth that came out there, helped us clean up, it's awesome, okay? And not to make this too much about people and individuals and stuff, because I know I don't want to be guilty of stealing someone's blessing, okay? That's just from my roots, okay? I don't want to be guilty of stealing somebody's blessing. But when you're in a congregation where you don't even have to ask for help, okay? They're already there. When, you know, your leadership shows up and is out there trying to organize and tells somebody, go buy a chainsaw so that we can get these trees out of here. And his wife is over here pulling somebody's roof attic fan out from under my car. You know, I mean, that speaks volumes, okay? Leadership is not always about just telling people what to do. Leadership is about service, okay? Amen. That's how I grew up. Grew up even as an adult in the Army, in the service of the county, stuff like that. That's something we've always tried to stress. Servant leadership. Here, we get to see it exhibited, okay? And that is such a blessing to us, and that we are truly thankful for. But I have a verse that goes with this about walking, because we've been given so much that now we have a challenge, okay? And the challenge, if you go with me to 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 21. And I got to tell you, the reason I got to look these things up so much is because I spent my lifetime in the military, because we're not allowed to proselytize. So I spent over 20 years in the military, because I was a fairly new believer when I decided I'm going active duty. I'd only been actually a follower of Yeshua for about 3 years when I decided I was going active duty. And we can't proselytize. So I lived most of my adult life learning not to quote scripture. So when you don't quote it, you have to live it, and you have to know the concepts, because when they ask you questions, you try to share with them what's in here without quoting verse and chapter, okay? And then they end up asking you more questions. So it's actually very effective. If you just know the concept and share that, when somebody asks a question, then they ask you more. And this is where I get to here at 2 Corinthians 8:21, is now we have a challenge. For we provide what is right, not only in the sight of Yahweh, but also in the sight of men. I'm sure a lot of you have heard, if not all of you, that faith is the substance of things not seen, right? Your integrity, your character is what you do when others aren't watching, okay? But in this verse, it's also what you do when people are watching. And sometimes that's the greatest challenge, okay? Because we're walking around, house is destroyed, okay? Everything we've had is gone. Okay, we can be distraught. We can be walking around crying, sobbing. But what good does it do? All right? It's a lot more effective to walk around. Be truly thankful for what you have. We found more and more stuff as we continue to focus on being thankful, being happy to be alive, being happy that we still have a challenge to go forward and serve Him and honor Him and be faithful to the sacrifice that His Son made on my behalf. So if that's what I'm going to do, I shouldn't look like I'm in sackcloth and ashes, because there's no reason for that mourning. It's nothing but material wealth. The only injury I know of in our entire neighborhood was one man who, from what I was told, is 84 years old, and he tripped and fell and broke his arm, okay? But that's it. Now, if that's the worst injury, that's a praise, because half the houses aren't there anymore. So there was a huge forest where we had a lot of coyote, a lot of bobcats, a lot of red hawks. There is no forest. I'm pretty sure a contractor's already bought it, because he's like, oh, now it's clear, I'm going to build something. Okay? I mean, because he's got his equipment down there. He's burning all the shrubs away. But it was so densely populated that they just left it as a forest, and there was all kind of wildlife down there. We literally could get up in the morning, look out and see coyote and stuff walking down the street. Zarek was working in my garage one day, left the door to the house open, and at that time, we had our bedroom downstairs. That's before we moved up to upstairs. And I came in, and I smelled this thing, and I won't go on long about this, but I smelled this funny odor, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm following the scent, and about when I got close enough to it, it was in my bedroom, and I'm like, okay, I know what that scent is, because my sister used to raise cats. I'm like, that's a cat, but this is a wild cat. That's why it smelled weird. It's not domestic. And so I looked around, I looked up under the bed, and there's this pregnant bobcat up under my bed. Wow. And I'm like, yeah. So she's in here because she don't want to fight with the coyotes while she's trying to have her babies. And so I told Zach, I said, okay, open the door back up and open the garage up and then get out of the way. And he says, what is it? I want to see it. I said, no, open the garage, open the door, get out of the way, because one of us is about to come flying through here. So just move out of the way. So I reached under there, gently coaxed her out, and she kind of went away from me because she wanted to make sure I wasn't touching her, and she took off out the door, which, again, that's his provision because he takes care of this foolish. But it's like, but I'm like, you're not having those under my bed. I'll never get that smell out of here. So That's but that's the kind of things, again, Nayla's worried about the way the house looks. I'm like, maybe there's all kind of things using this house now. Just won't worry about it. It's done. So that's kind of the gist of our testimony. The most part of our testimony is just being able to walk out of there, keep our heads held high, and remember what's important. And honestly, not feel the fear where you're worried about dying. I mean, there's only one way to not fear that, and that is do what you need to do to make sure you're assured of what's going to happen, and then you're not worried about that. I joke about it. Nayla said, I'll be on my own, but I told her, I says, no, we used to have this song, Only the Good Die Young, and I did enough in my life that I'm probably going to be the next Methuselah. And she said, well, you're going to be on your own. I'm not sticking around. So, but no, the other thing is just walk right with him because he's going to protect you. He's going to look after you. He shields you when there is no shielding. And I've got a lot of stories I could tell. I'm not going to go into them all right now. But I've told a few guys in here some of my stories from being over in places like Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Iraq and stuff like that. But yeah, he is an awesome God that we serve. And that's where our focus needs to be, is on him. So with that, we'll call it quits. You got some?
Don't go anywhere because I want you to close this in prayer. But I did just want to say these people have been living in a hotel since this happened. And we live in a tiny house. That's a super tiny house over there. But their attitude has been unbelievable. You can't get them to say anything. I think if somebody was paid to have the task to try to get them to say something negative about all this, they haven't. They won't. I don't think you could get them to. All they see is the blessing in it. And to me, there's three kind of people. There's in the world. There's one that needs. One of my children is this way. Would continue playing a soccer game with an arm dangling and go, no, Mom, I got it. I just got to make this goal. Y'all know what that's like. And then there are other people who say, oh, I have a hangnail, call the ambulance, I need a wheelchair, I got a hangnail, and then there's the in-between people. But these guys, even before the tornado, if you'd heard some of the things that they have seen and can keep such a great attitude, it's amazing. But while we were over there, that's a testimony to the character, and we're proud to have them here at Jacob's Tent, that we're so thankful the Father's blessed us with the friendship. When we were over there raking in the yard, Telma and I were out there just raking leaves and roof shingles and all kinds of unimaginable stuff. We found crazy stuff that it's like, it didn't make any sense how it even got there, except the storm was just wild. And most of you went over there to help them clean. Y'all know it looked like something just went through and just shaved off that neighborhood and took it, we don't know where. But we were outside and got over to the flower beds. They had some little rocks that lined the flower beds around their house. And I looked down, and Nayla and I saw it about the same time. This little bear, this little stuffed bear, was out there, a little black bear, probably about that big. And at the rocks to the flower beds, the little bear was laying on its belly, and towards the rock, it had its arms out like this. And it was just clinging to that rock, that little bear. And I took a picture of it because I said, what a picture. That's what we all need to do in a storm, is cling to the rock. Yeshua, our Messiah, he is the rock. And I can't think of a finer example of people doing that in the midst of a storm than what Robert and Neyla have done. So we love you guys. And, thank you, all of you out there. Those of you here who have done so, thank you so much for your show of love to them, whether it's through finances, whether it's through showing up, whether it's through offering, they're renting, and letting them borrow your car until, both of their vehicles were taken out. Everything they had, they're not kidding. And what they find, they can't keep because it is embedded with fiberglass. I mean, just out there, those of us who were out there raking and working, we had, if we could have worn 4 masks, we probably should have. But we came home with fiberglass in us just from raking. I can't even imagine what it was like to be in that storm. And so everything they have, if you've ever tried to wash fiberglass out of clothes, it doesn't happen. And so there might be things that are not broken or ruined so far as you can see, but it's full of debris and they can't keep it. They haven't complained. They're looking forward to what the Father has for them. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you for all of the ways that you have helped them. We appreciate it, and I know they do. So, Walt, you had something you wanted to say?
Yes, I'd like to read Psalm 27.
Can you come up here so we can give you the microphone? You can stand right here if you can, guys can get him.
Thinking of Robert. Thought of this psalm.
Hold it up tight and turn around so they can hear you.
The Lord is the light of my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and foes, they stumbled and fell. Though an enemy may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. One thing I have desired of Yahweh, that will I seek, that I may dwell in the house of Yahweh all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacles he shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. And now my head shall be lifted up above my enemies all around me. Therefore I will offer sacrifices of joy in his tabernacles. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to Adonai. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. I think I skipped a page. No, I didn't. No. Hear, O Lord, when I cry out with my voice. Have mercy upon me and answer me. When you said, seek my face, my heart said to you, your face, Adonai, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my help. Do not leave me nor forsake me. O God of my salvation, when my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take care of me. Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me in the smooth path. Because of my enemies, do not deliver me to the will of my adversaries. For false witnesses have risen against me, and such as have breathed out violence. I would have lost heart unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of Yahweh in the land of the living. Wait on Adonai and be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on Adonai. You know, Robert, you've been a warrior. And it's amazing the things you told me, exactly what you did. You stayed cool, you weren't murmuring, and you stood up for the righteous God. And I thank you for that. This goes in a book of memories that we spoke about. Yahweh bless you and your family.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Walt. Please continue to pray for them. They do have a lot of work ahead of them. They will be having to find a permanent home, and within the allotted time that the insurance gives them, and with what the allotment is financially with the settlement. So they have a lot coming up. So keep them in prayer. But they're excited about it. So if you have anything else to say, go ahead, and then you can just take us out with prayer.
Yeah. No, again, just thank you. That's all we can say. So let us pray. Abba, we just thank you for your provision. We thank you for your protection. And we thank you for being you. And Abba, we just pray that we would be honorable and that we would be faithful servants of yours and that we would show true reverence for you. And Father, we just ask that all we say and all that we do would represent the type of person that you so selflessly gave your Son, our Redeemer, Yeshua HaMashiach, our Savior and our Master, our King. That is who we stand under the authority of, and it's under the authority of his name and under your authority that we now relinquish ourselves in our service, that you would be honored and glorified. Father, this we pray under Yeshua. Amen.